What up? It's David, and today I want to talk to you about how you should always and constantly be upgrading yourself. How you should look back 1 year ago and be embarrassed of who you were. Be embarrassed of your skills 1 year ago. Like 1 year ago version of you should be cringe because you are evolving and growing so fast. And even looking back at my life, right? A lot of the things that I've done many years ago, like 5 years ago, they are like so cringe because I've become just so much more skilled and I've just evolved so much over the years, right? Like even like looking at my old videos, like so cringe, like, oh God, it's like a beginner level of me like 5 years ago, right? And not only that, but then I know that 5 years from now, my skills will be so much more elevated, so much more upgraded that looking at videos that I make today, 5 years from now, I'm gonna look back at this video and I'm gonna cringe too. So it should constantly be like that. You should constantly upgrading yourself so fast and growing so exponentially that you look back a year and you're like, oh my God, I've grown so much since that last year version of myself, right? And so when I look back on like some of my like old stuff, like my old writing, it's like so cringe. Like my old videos, it's like so cringe. Even like old courses that I created, and that was just like a few years ago. I'm like looking back at it, I'm just like, dude, that was so cringe, man. And many other skills, like my communication methods that I had like a few years ago, my public speaking skills that I had. When I first started out, especially, I go back to watch like my first like videos that I recorded myself of like public speaking, and it's like, oh my God, this shy little boy who has no confidence on the stage. It's just, I guess it's cute in a way. It's like, oh my God, how much you've evolved, David, into like this adult human being in a sense, right? And I don't mean this in like an ego way. I don't mean this like, oh, I'm embarrassed of myself like a year ago because my ego has grown. Not like that, but just in a skill sense. Just like looking back and saying, wow, I've grown so much. How much more can I grow if I continue to upgrade myself every single year, right? So that's the idea that I want to talk to you about today. Is constantly working on yourself, constantly be upgrading. If you're not embarrassed of who you were last year, I think that you're growing too slow. If you look back on some of your old work and you're not like a little embarrassed about it, then it's like, dude, I should be growing faster. I should be growing more. And always constantly question, how can I grow more? How can I grow more? And then like continuously be looking out on ways on how you can grow more. And so it's a kind of akin to like a muddy mountain. So I took this idea from Owen Cook, and it says like success should be earned, but then it also has to be re-earned again and again. It's not like you like master like a certain skill and then be done with it. It's not like you master the skill of like video production or like writing and then that's the end. Skill, it should be constantly like an activity. It's always a process, never an ending. It's like dancing, right? It's always a process. A dancer doesn't want to get to the end of the dance. They just love the dance itself. That's how success should be. That's how skill building should be. So it's kind of like a mountain, but then it's like a muddy mountain. So you're climbing up the mountain, but then because it's a muddy mountain, if you stop for too long, you kind of get dragged down by the mud. And you have to kind of climb back up again. So in this way, you have to constantly, be working on yourself. Success has to be earned and then re-earned again and again and again. In a sense, it's like this perpetual learning mode, perpetual hero mode in a sense. And you have to like love that process. And I know it's like sometimes it's like a struggle. Sometimes the process is ugly. Man, success is freaking ugly, man. Like working on yourself, learning, it's freaking ugly. But then you gotta embrace the ugliness. You gotta embrace the ugliness. It's kind of like a metamorphosis. It's like going from like this ugly, I don't want to call a caterpillar ugly, but going from like this less beautiful caterpillar and then evolving into this cocoon, and then finally you're like turning into this beautiful butterfly, right? But it's not the end. The metamorphosis, the end of the metamorphosis, the butterfly, it's not the end. And in reality, in real life, in a human life, it might be different for a caterpillar, but in a human life, you're constantly going through multiple stages of metamorphosis. It's like micro metamorphosis sessions again and again. It's like metamorphosis reps that you're going through within life, within success and upgrading yourself. So it's like perpetual hero mode. You're constantly having mini deaths and also mini rebirths. So it's like that, again, like the metamorphosis cycle. Constant deaths and constant rebirths of yourself, always reiterating yourself. And to take like a practical example of this, like there are times in the past where I like wrote down like my values and my beliefs, right? But then over the years, like 5 years from like when I wrote down those values and beliefs, I noticed that my values and beliefs have changed. Like maybe like a long time ago, maybe like when I was like in my young 20s, my earlier 20s, I thought, you know, I wanted like an exotic car like as one of my goals, right? And maybe one of my values was like the ultimate financial wealth or whatever. But then as I grew more and more, like 5 years from that date of when I set that goal, it's like I don't even want that car anymore. I don't even fancy like exotic cars anymore, right? I think it's just a waste of money. You know what I mean? So these values and these beliefs, they can change. That's why you're constantly working on yourself, constantly creating like this new version of yourself every single year. And so I think this is just like how the hero's journey, the hero's life is supposed to be. It comes with the territory of the hero. They have to constantly be working on themselves. They have to constantly be putting in the energy and becoming better and better every single year. And so every year you should kind of be upgrading your brain. You should kind of be upgrading your processing power. So in a sense, it's like very similar to, you know, in the microchip world, the technology world, there's this thing called Moore's Law, where processing power of a chip has to double every like 2 years or something like that, right? And I think recent years, that hasn't been the case because like microchips are getting like so small to the point where like they can't even grow so much anymore. But then anyways, it's kind of like that process, it's kind of like that concept, Moore's Law, but for the brain. You're upgrading your brain processing power, you're doubling it every 2 years, or maybe in this case, every year, in fact. So that's how you should be trying to upgrade yourself. And I think that's ultimately the hero's life, because the alternative is, again, being on that money mountain and then sliding all the way down and never climbing to the top, is living that alternative life of being a coward and never facing your fears, never fighting through resistance, never fighting for what you believe in. That is the life of the coward, and you don't want that. And this idea of the hero requires courage, and maybe courage isn't just about, you know, like success and upgrading yourself like we talked about. Maybe courage is going against the grain. Maybe courage is about going against convention, and not necessarily for the sake of like going against convention, but maybe you just found a better way. Maybe you found a more efficient way than the traditional way, and that's courage in practicality. You know, that's courage in action. It's courage in flight. Maybe courage is about saying things, about expressing yourself, about being bold. Maybe that's what the hero is all about. Maybe it's about forgiveness, forgiving yourself, and maybe forgiving others who did so bad to you. Maybe somebody stabbed you in the back and you have the courage to forgive them. Maybe it's about sacrificing yourself. Maybe being a hero is about sacrificing yourself for the greater good. Maybe it's about sacrificing yourself for a friend. Maybe it's about sacrificing yourself for an enemy. Think about that. Think about how courageous that is. You're sacrificing yourself for a foe. Sacrificing yourself, and they don't even know it, right? You're just giving to other people without people even knowing it. Maybe it's about a random act of kindness. Maybe that's what the hero's journey is about. A hidden random act of kindness, because if you're showing off, you're giving, I believe that's just virtue signaling. So there are many ways that you can take this hero's journey, and there are many ways that you can constantly be upgrading yourself. It doesn't just have to be about success and like financial success, but it can also be about upgrading yourself, can also be about giving more, adding more value to the world, and maybe that comes with building more skill too. So that's all I have for this video. I hope you can take your own hero's journey, whatever that means to you. I hope you can become more courageous and live that perpetual hero's life, because what's the alternative? The alternative is taking the blue pill and never even seeing the real world, never even realizing your potential, never even seeing a glimpse of your ideal destiny. And in order to do that, you got to free yourself. Free up your mind, Neo. And that is the only way, and that is the life of the hero. Talk to you in next one. Peace.